hackathon category and its problem statement. Experts insights, tips and tricks for idea submission, followed by question answer session at the end. Let's welcome Supriya Ghosh, Chief Architect of Open Network for Digital Commerce. You all must have interacted with him in the previous masterclass. Supriya is the Chief of Tech Design of ONDC Network and handles technical coordination with the participants community. He has worked on several population scale missions for the government industry like Aadhaar, National ID, and AMP, Social Protection System, and the many more. He previously handled software development roles at Oracle Corporation in US. He is a graduate in computer science and AMP engineering from IIT Kharagpur. Welcome, Supriya. Over to you. Hi, Supriya. Are you there?
So let me just give you a second.
Yes.
So
I think some background sound not coming properly.
We are just waiting for Supriya to join. Just give us a minute.
Okay. Can you tell me about mention something about?
Yeah, just wait for Supriya to join from ONDC. After that, I can ask.
I've joined.
Oh, hi, Supriya. Supriya just gave introduction about you. So you can just explain about the foundation solution, and these are the categories. So you can just go through one by one.
Okay, are we starting with that?
Yeah.
And we can start now, or do we wait for a
Yeah,
few
yeah.
minutes for others to join?
No, you can start. You can start. Not an issue.
Okay. So hi everyone. Good afternoon. It's great to have you here. You are aware of the Build for Bharat hackathon, which is organized by the sponsors are below: Google Cloud, Antler, Protean, Paytm, and for ONDC. So my name is Supriya. I'm the chief architect at ONDC, and everything related to the technology and the tech stack and protocol and all that I take care of. For the Build for Bharat hackathon, okay, they're saying they can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, yes, sir. You are here, sir. Everyone come.
So for the Build for Build for Bharat hackathon, we have two sets of problem statements. There's a scalable set of foundational problems. Foundational problems are related to the plumbing of ONDC itself. So all of your engineers, plumbing, it's like at the foundational layer. We need to get these plumbing problems right if you have to scale up ONDC. I'll explain each of these problems with the specific use case, but these are problems that that can occur for a wide variety of use cases. Can we put that slide again? So while Sarojit tries to get the slide, okay, I can't see it.
Can't see it? Just a second, I will.
Sure. Okay, so while he puts up the slide, I'll just explain to you a little bit about ONDC. I'm sure most of you have heard about it, but I'll still take 2 minutes to explain to you. So digital commerce, I think all of you are aware of. Digital commerce is a difficult problem. And what we've done in ONDC is to take that difficult problem and kind of split it into multiple components. And the challenge that we have is to make sure that all these components they work together seamlessly across an entire ecosystem. You must have heard about terms like unbundling, interoperability. So unbundling is that the demand side, supply side, those are kind of separated out. And interoperability is that you can have multiple participants on both the demand side, supply side, and it's going to work in a seamless manner. That's what we are trying to enable through the protocol on which ONDC is based. Now to explain some of these problem statements, so I'll go through it one by one. One is catalog scoring. So catalogs, I think you are aware of. So in digital commerce, let's say I'm a grocery store, or I have a restaurant, or I have a fashion store. What I'll do is I'll create a catalog. Now, the better the quality of the catalog, the better will be the discoverability, of the items that I sell. And what happens is, in this kind of a decentralized network, there are multiple sellers, who kind of create catalogs, and they kind of share it with the buyer apps, because whenever a buyer wants to buy something, they actually look at the catalogs. Now, there are different, if you look at industry standards, based on the leaders in digital commerce today. If you look at the industry standards of something like a shirt, if I want to have a catalog for shirt, I need at least 3 images. Images have to be of a particular resolution, good quality images, plus some information that actually lets me decide, which shirt I want to buy. Similarly, there are standards for others as well. So if I'm trying to buy oil, I want to know, I want to see a picture of that. I want to see what is the expiry date. I want to see, what is the weight, and all those kinds of things. Now, in this kind of a decentralized network, what happens is that there are multiple participants who create the catalogs. We have a set of minimal standards saying that, okay, when you send a catalog, you at least follow this. So things like, when you send a catalog, you at least have a product name, you have a price, whether the product is returnable or not. So there are like quite a few basic attributes which are required. But those basic attributes are not necessarily going to give you the kind of discoverability that you would want. So the catalog scoring is a mechanism where if you look at a catalog score, it actually identifies the quality of your catalog, and it uses a set of qualitative and quantitative metrics. Things like, you can decide on a set of parameters. Example, number of images, quality of images, the price, maybe price comparison with similar products, for other merchants, product name, description. You can define what kind of parameters those are, and you can define a score based on those parameters, so that any participant who wants to share the catalog, they can self-evaluate themselves. When they create the catalog, before sharing it with the outside world, they can actually evaluate the catalog based on the catalog score, and then try to make sure that they improve the quality of the catalog before they share it out. So this is about, and I've written all the details here, requirements like compliance with laws, correctness, completeness. Now, there could be different criteria that you use to evaluate the catalog scores. In other words, there are a set of inputs. You define, think of a formula that you can use to create an output, which is basically a catalog score, and then then you can use that to improve your catalog, and then before you share it out. Can we go to the next one? Indic language support. I think this is a key problem that we have to solve if we have to, expand ONDC or expand digital commerce beyond, people beyond the tech-savvy audience, that are primarily digital commerce customers today. So if you look at most of the catalogs, majority of the catalogs, not everything, majority of the catalogs, there are labels. If you see the labels, images, those are in English. Even the interfaces that are used by buyer apps, seller apps, the demand side, supply side, they still use English. So there is a very English-centric focus, when you talk about the user interaction with catalogs. So what we want to do through Indic language support is to enable, if you have to enable digital commerce in tier 3, tier 4 cities, and for the audience that is not tech savvy, you need to provide an interface using which they can communicate in their own native language. And there should be some kind of an auto translation which is available. That irrespective of whatever language the catalog is in, it should be able to kind of render it in the language that the user is conversing with. So, for example, if you look at input, to a digital commerce system, it could be a combination of text, voice, image interfaces, and assuming that the catalogs are in a specific language. Let's say majority of them are in English, some could be in Hindi. Considering that there are multiple dialects, what happens is if a user decides to give a input, using a combination of these interfaces in any specific language, it should provide a response to the user in that particular language itself, irrespective of the language that it is stored in. And there are quite a few, startups that are trying to solve this problem. But in our understanding, this is key, to get digital commerce, beyond the tier 1 and tier 2 cities and the tier 1 and tier 2 audience today. Can we go to the next one? Negotiation engine. Now, one of the things that we are doing in ONDC is that we actually bring a buyer and a seller. So a buyer buys something from a seller, and there are intermediaries that kind of facilitate that transaction. The intermediaries could be in the form of the buyer apps. You must have heard of Paytm PIN code and others, who provide buyer apps, and then there are seller marketplaces or aggregators who actually provide an interface to the merchants. Now, when we talk about a transaction between a buyer and a seller, there are a lot of things that could get negotiated between the buyer and the seller. Now, just to give an example, and this could be applicable across a wide variety of use cases. So a buyer is trying to buy something from one of the buyer apps, let's say the PhonePe buyer app, and they are buying it from a particular seller. Now the question is, who gets to collect the payment? Is it the on ONDC we support everything. So the buyer side, the buyer app can collect the payment, the seller app can collect the payment, or the buyer might decide to pay COD, in which case the logistics provider or the logistics agent actually collects the payment. Now, how do we decide who gets to collect the payment? So the buyer app might say that, okay, I'll collect the payment. The seller app might say that I'll collect the payment. Now, how do we decide, who gets to collect the payment? So what we do is we need some kind of a negotiation between the buyer app and the seller app, to decide who can collect the payment. Now, the main thing in a negotiation engine is to make sure that the negotiation actually converges towards a yes or a no answer. So in other words, there could be multiple rounds of negotiation, but how do you determine whether it is actually converging towards a decision, whether it's a positive or a negative decision? I think that is key in terms of getting this negotiation engine working. But there are a wide variety of use cases where this will be useful on an open network like ONDC. Can we go to the next one? Now, this is a very interesting problem. One of the issues, so in digital commerce, one of the key issues is serviceability. Now, there are merchants. And we are expecting we'll have hundreds of millions of merchants on ONDC. Now, there are going to be lots of merchants, and one of the serviceability in digital commerce is what we call as PIN code based serviceability. In other words, if you look at any brand, they actually come and say that, okay, I am ITC, for example, I only service the city. I only service from my warehouse in Hosur in the city of Bangalore. Somebody else might say that, there could be small sellers on ONDC. We're going to have a combination of small, large sellers. There could be a small restaurant that comes and says that I only want to, provide my service in the Whitefield area, which is basically some 2-3 pin codes. Now, if you look at this problem as, there are like tens of millions of merchants versus there are about, 30,000 pin codes in the country. Now, if there is a buyer, buyer side interface or a buyer app, which actually provides, a buyer to actually kind of scroll through catalogs to make a decision on what to buy. Now, if the buyer app has to decide, the buyer app is going to have catalogs for most of these merchants. Now, assuming that there are tens of millions of merchants, about 30,000 pin codes, and the buyer app has to actually show to the buyer, based on the buyer's pin code, which are the merchants that actually service that buyer. So if you look at it, it's more like a M by N sparse matrix, 100 million merchants, which 30,000 pin codes, and the buyer app actually maintains that matrix, for each merchant, which are the pin codes where it services. Now, I give an example of pin code. It could actually be a polygon. It could be any such factor. But this is a very key problem in digital commerce. Now, the challenge here is what is the optimal storage mechanism, for this kind of a matrix, and what is the optimal retrieval mechanism. So assuming I've solved the storage problem, now for a buyer who is in a particular location, let's say I identified by PIN code or GPS coordinate, how do I, very efficiently retrieve from this storage, what are the merchants that actually service that buyer? And that too has to be done in near real time. Can we go to the next one? A conversational interface. Now, if you see the major digital commerce interfaces, I mean, all of us who've used Amazon, Flipkart, and others, it's like a mobile-based interface with a point-and-click type of interface, or even tap and touch type of interface. Now, these are interfaces which are meant for tech-savvy users. Somebody that is not tech-savvy. I was actually talking to one of the participants in one of the last hackathons which I did. Something very simple like an OTP. Today in India they call it death by OTP. But you want to access something, they give you an OTP. Now there are some people who don't even know how to copy that OTP from the SMS, into the mobile interface that they're using. Now we are all tech savvy, so we know how to do all these kinds of things. But there are quite a few people who don't know it. Now, the conversational interface, what that will do is that will actually provide a different type of user interaction. So, for example, if you look at a digital commerce workflow, it's a pretty standard workflow across all the apps. There is like a browsing, you create a cart, you check out the cart, you make the payment, and then you monitor the status. Now we have these things by heart, so we know what to do. But somebody that has never used, a digital commerce app, they won't be very conversant with that. Some kind of a guided interface which tells them, okay, what to do at each step of the way. I think that is something that will be really useful. Now there are so if you look at conversational interface, now today most of the interfaces are text-based, but there are a lot of startups, which have come up with something like a voice-based interface. So there's a startup which actually has a voice-based app, and that is used by Thelawalas, where they can actually speak over that app in any Indic language. They speak over that app, and that kind of automatically maintains a kind of inventory system on the mobile itself, right? So basically, the conversational interface problem is two things. One is provide a guided interface to buyers, so that they know how exactly to execute a digital commerce transaction. Second is actually provide an immersive experience. Now, real world shopping, if I have to go and buy, shirt or trousers, all of us go in, go to the changing room, try it out multiple times. But can we do that on the app itself? And can we do that in a way that, somebody that is not tech savvy can actually use it and provide a kind of immersive interface, or provide a kind of immersive experience, that actually helps them, in making a decision. Can we go to the next one? Okay, so these are the problem statements that we have for the foundational problems. If you so I don't know, Simajit, what's up? Can we take questions now, or is it at
the end? We will take questions. So
sure. Okay, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Supriyo. It's a pleasure to have you on the session. Along with Supriyo, we have another esteemed panelist with us. That is Usha. So, hi Usha, are you there?
Yeah, hi Simajit, I'm online. You're able to hear me clearly?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. I would like to welcome Usha Rengraju, the world's first triple Kaggle Grandmaster and head of data science research at EXIF Protocol, and renowned judge of major challenges like Striograph and Intel 180. Usha is recognized as the top data scientist in India. Usha achievements include various Google ML in Action competition, WIDS 2022 Datathon, Kaggle ML Research Spotlight for 2022. So over to you, Usha. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much, Simajit. I'll just share my screen.
Sure.
I think I should be made the host for sharing the screen. Yeah, thank you.
I will just stop my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome everyone. We'll be seeing what are the Google Cloud APIs which you can use, and how you can put into use the Google Cloud credits which you will be receiving as a part of this hackathon into the best use for the problem statements which you have in hand. And about me, Simarjit has already given an introduction. You can reach out to me in Twitter, and you can also reach out to me in LinkedIn, and if you want to connect with me further. So we'll start with any problem statement requires data. So data is going to be a very fundamental, crucial point from which you will start your entire pipeline. So where are the sources from where you will dig up your data? You can, where are some of the places where you can go and dig up your data? Kaggle data sets. Kaggle has got a huge repository of data sets. They have more than 300,000 data sets. You may not actually find something which is closely overlapping with your problem statement, but you might be able to find something closely similar. You can also use GANs and other various diffusion models to generate your synthetic data sets as well, using the existing Kaggle data sets for your problem statement. There's UCI machine learning repository for very standard problem statements. You'll find some toy data sets there. You also have Google's data sets search engine, where you will get a lot of data sets from there. And you have awesome public data sets collection. This is a GitHub repository. I think awesome, any concept you write, for example, awesome reinforcement learning or awesome machine learning or awesome deep learning. These are series of GitHub repositories from where you can get very good data sets. Again, there is government.in website where you've got Indian government has uploaded a lot of data sets, which is might be like,
Your screen is not presented. Can you just share it again?
sure. So is it visible now?
No, sir, not yet.
No, it's not visible. Can you just do it once again?
Sure. Is it visible now?
No, sir. Yeah.
No,
I-
it's not. Okay, it's good.
Yeah, sure. So so these are some of the places where you can source your data sets from: Kaggle, UCI machine learning repository, Google dataset search engine, and you've got awesome public datasets collection. And you can also, I think Google dataset search engine is a great place where, see, this is what is dataset search from Google. So you can write a relevant name here, and then, you can, for example, the problem statement built for, you have catalog scoring, Hindi language support. So you can just try Indic language. You can, maybe you'll have to give, see, you have multi-Indic languages news data set. So if you want to, so this data set is present in Kaggle. So see, you have a lot of options, like you have multi-Indic languages news data sets from Kaggle. So you can go to this link. This is your first link. So this is a data set for you where, you have multiple languages news. So you can use these data sets for fine-tuning your model, because Indic language support is one of the problem categories. So you can explore these data sets, either build upon them or use them as a reference for creating your own data sets. And you have Telugu NLP again in Kaggle, Malayalam news data sets you have, Hindi data sets you have. So this is how you can find your data sets for your relevant problem statements. So based on whatever your problem statement is, give the corresponding, prompt and search it. Then Google dataset search engine will be able to help you. You can also go to kaggle.com like this. So if you just go to kaggle.com, you have a separate section here called datasets. This is a separate section called datasets, and here you can search for it as well. For example, I can search Tamil, and all the Tamil data sets related are coming. Tamil NLP is a data set, Tamil neural style transfer, So all the Tamil. So whatever name, relevant name you want, you can just search, and based on that, you might be able to find out the data set. This is how you can search for your data set, because data set, finding your data set, which will be the first point. So Google dataset search engine, Kaggle datasets is a great place. There's another repository called Awesome Public Dataset. So this is actually a GitHub repository. So this repository, you will find a lot of open source data sets which you can browse through. Awesome public data sets. You just Google awesome public data sets. There's a lot of public data sets under every particular domain. And you also have the government data sets. So this is from data.government.in. So this is another data set for you, where you have a lot of data sets here for, for your reference. So these are places where you can look for data sets. So data set might be the first starting point for you. So figuring out what kind of data is right for your use case is where you will spend up a lot of time. So sometimes you might get all of your data set at a single source. Sometimes you will have to, create synthetic data. There are various forms of creating synthetic data. You can use certain GAN models to actually create synthetic data. Right now, they're using diffusion models to create synthetic data. So creating synthetic data, you might find something which is closely related to your use case in Kaggle, but not exactly relevant. You might have to use that, tweak that a bit to create and use that for synthetic data creation. Something like that might be there. And so these are sometimes you might have to develop and quickly put out a survey and then collect the data through the survey. So there are challenges like this. Sometimes you might have very minimal data. So there are models which are very good in handling minimal amount of data, like few shot classification or few shot learnings are algorithms which are very good in learning with minimal amount of data. So if you have a situation where you have very minimal data and data collection is costly because of a lot of reasons. This is a hackathon, so time is always a constraint. So if you have very less time, where you have to put together a complete POC. And you might have a great idea for data collection, but that might take a really long time. So if that is the case, always look out for few shot learning algorithms under your domain. If you're dealing with vision, there are few shot learning algorithms and a vision. There are few shot learning algorithms and a learning. There are few shot learning algorithms for tabular data as well. So these are some of the techniques which you can opt for when you have very minimal amount of data. And sometimes you might find data from disparate sources. Like sometimes you might have data in a web where you have to scrap the website, and then sometimes you might have it from an API. Sometimes you might have it from different CSV files, JSON files. So, and sometimes it might be in a traditional data source. So traditional data source, CSV file, JSON file, web scraping, all of different sources of data you want to have to combine it into a unified source that requires a very good data pre-processing skills. You have to use certain Python libraries to combine all these into a single data source. And then the data source present from these websites are not clean at all. They have very raw data with a lot of missing values. They might have duplicate values. They might have inconsistent values. So you might have to spend really 80%, 60 to 70% of the time. You might spend time formatting data, cleaning data, and imputing the values and bringing it to a format which can be consumed by more. So this data collection is something which is very, very crucial for your entire pipeline. So spend a lot of time in getting the data right. So data curation, sometimes you can do all of this by yourself, like scraping the data from website, taking the data from traditional database, combining all the sources together manually. You can write Python scripts to do it, but if you feel you don't have the sufficient time to do it, there is also data curation service providers who will do the job for you. So these are websites who provide this. So on a click of a button, you can get a lot of things done. So they have automated pipeline for data curation. So there are many such websites which are available for you. You might have to pay a small subscription fee to get your job done. This is only if you are not capable of writing a Python script to manually automate, do all these things, and you want to get everything done with a click of a button, then you can go for data curation things. But if you have a strong Python programmer in your team itself, then this may not be required. Based on what your team dynamics are and how your team composition is, you can opt for it or you can opt out of it. And if at all you decide to go for this data curation things, it basically helps you in collecting data. See, labeling of data manually also, you can sit and label each image. But if you use these tools, you can get it done at a very, very fastest pace. And it helps you in selecting, curating. This is a very iterative process. The software helps you in this iterative process of image labeling, collection, and data curation. So there's a lot of advantages of using this software. It saves you a lot of time, and time is money because you have very short time right now for hackathon. So I think using these curation tools will speed up your workflow. You have certain products in the market, like I'm just highlighting few products. But there are a lot of such products out there in the market. You have Scale Nucleus, you have Likely.ai, you have Aquarium Learning, Labelbox. There are many such service providers out there in the market. You can Google out for more such service providers. And general tips for this section is particularly for students. I think students are very active in hackathons happening across the country. There's a lot of enthusiasm from the students, and there's a lot of creative solutions from the students. Personally, I find students have very, very creative mind, and they have a lot of energy, and their spirit is unmatchable. So I'm so happy there's a separate category only exclusively for students. That's really good. And so if you're a student, you might not have, some of the students may not have worked in internships before, or may not have actually worked in a professional setting before. So I would really, really recommend you spending a lot of time creating and drafting a strong workflow. So because there are multiple people who are involved in the team. What is the source code repository which you are using for versioning? What is the versioning tool which you are using? It could be GitHub, or it could be a different tool which you're comfortable with. Fix your working environment first, like, because there are 5 people who are going to do it. What is the kind of collaborative environment which you are going to choose? There are multiple products out there, but what is it which all of your team members are comfortable with? It could be GitHub or any product like which you are comfortable with for source code versioning or keeping track of all your source codes at one place. Figure that environment out. And for many of the times, when there is short time constraints, you can opt for like GitHub Copilot, or you can even AWS, or many of the products, they have a pair programming scheme. So you can make use of these pair programming scheme to speed up your process. Most of the times you get code templates, so you don't have to build everything from the scratch. Making use of these pair programming engines and code templates can speed up your productivity by more than 60 to 70%. It takes up almost 60 to 70% of what you have to do is already given by these code templates. So make the best use of all of it. And focus on the problem statement. Sometimes, most of the times, people don't get a clarity of the problem statement, and they end up building 60 to 70% of the product. And then they realize, oh, I think I've got the problem wrong. And then there's a whole lot of time left, and you just have few days left, and that time you just fix up what you've done wrong. Then it can get really confusing. So get a lot of clarity on the problem statement, what the deliverables are. Get a very good clarity on the problem statement. And so most of the times, for a hackathon, you require certain skill sets or certain tools which you require. Divide it amongst your team members. Who's going to do what? What are the list of skill sets you require? Okay, this particular problem statement, I require deep learning skill. I require, GitHub Actions. I require these. What are the skill sets which is required for your problem statement? First, figure that out. and who's going to do what. And to do this, what are the potential resources, best resources for you available in the internet to get that job done. Get all this inside a checklist, put it in a document, draft. Don't have everything in your head, because you are a team of 5 people, then nobody can come into your head and read everything. You need to get down that into a paper, because you're collaborating with team members. Everyone should have access to a single document where you have drafted and put all your ideas on paper. So it's always a good practice to have your ideas drafted down on a paper, rather than having a lot of mental calculations go in your head. So always get into the habit of putting it down on a paper. So these are some of the general tips for ML hackathons. So it's always read the deliverables, which are each and every problem statement have a specific set of deliverables, how they want the particular POC to be delivered. And it's very unique for each and every problem statement. Read that carefully and try to comply to the rules and regulations of that particular thing and deliver it according to that requirements. A lot of times people don't do that. The specific question, specific problem statement might have specific set of deliverables. Please pay attention to that. How do they want that product to be delivered? Do they want it as a web application? What are the input it takes? What are the output it takes? So read the problem statement very carefully on how the POC demo has to be delivered. So that I put a lot of effort in understanding and getting clarity on all of these things. This is about my general tips and tricks for hackathons, being a judge and mentor at various hackathons across India. I would say these are some of my tips for students specifically. If you're getting started, I think these are some of the places where you need to pay attention to. Next, coming back to Google Cloud. So Google Cloud gives you a lot of resources for you to simplify your workflow. If you use these services, you can speed up your workflow by 60 to 70%, sometimes more than 80%. Sometimes you can use AutoML workflows and get 98% of your work done with just Google Cloud services. So there are a lot of services for each and every problem statement. There are specific set of services. So you need to identify the services which are necessary for which are available for your use case. So I'm going to discuss few services in general, but every use case as a corresponding, at least even if you don't get 100% from a service, at least something which is closely matching 50 to 70%, you can get it done from a particular service. So I'm going to talk about few services which might be relevant for you, but then there are a lot more other services and products from Google Cloud. I would definitely recommend checking that out. So this is going to be roughly your pipeline. If you're building a production level pipeline, so how does your pipeline look like? So you start with a data gathering, then you pre-process your data, then you build a model. So your pipeline doesn't stop there. Any enterprise level product, any product which is production ready doesn't stop there with model building. The pipeline is even bigger. So you build a model, you try to evaluate your model, productionize, deploy it in cloud. So according to the rules of this problem statement, all the models which you are products which you are building in your POC has to be deployed. You have to use Google Cloud for deployment. So you have to get familiar with how to deploy your products, your POC on Google Cloud. And then you test it, and then after deploying it also, you need to continue. There is a need for continuous monitoring, because there are continuous changes. The world which we live in changes very, very rapidly. What was fashionable in 2019 is not fashionable in 2020. So there is a rapid change in the fashion taste. There is a rapid development in every walks of life. And before 2022 November, there were a lot of content. There were a lot of startups who were dealing with content and other parts. And after ChatGPT came, a lot of things were irrelevant. So, we are at a very rapid space where everything changes so rapidly. So the data also changes very rapidly. So you might use a certain data set for training your model, and then the model may not be performing really well after deploying it, because the preferences might have changed. So there is a need for continuously monitoring your model and then retraining it as well. This is called continuous monitoring and observability. So this is what your pipeline looks like, a production ready or enterprise level application pipeline. This is what it looks like. So what are the Google services, Google solutions, which is available for building scalable solutions is what we're going to see up next. So to simplify your process, so there are use cases for you in conversations. There are use cases which is related to natural language processing. There are use cases which is related to computer vision. You also have use cases with regards to structured data. So from all of these data types, you have use cases under the students only category, which is foundation category. You have data use cases which falls under all of this type. So you have Vertex AI, which is a suite of products from Google Cloud, which offers you like a lot of pre-trained models. There's more than, lots and lots of pre-trained models which are available with just a click of a button. With drag and drop, you can solve most of your problems using Vertex AI's pre-trained model. Just in case if you want to fine-tune it, then you can fine-tune it on your custom data set as well. And then the advantage of using Vertex AI is it's an end-to-end solution. So it helps you in data collect, it helps you in data curation. You can label your data. There are a lot of, Vertex AI itself has got a lot of data curation related services. So it helps you in data preparation. And if you have multiple data from multiple disparate sources, it also helps you in, unifying the data. There are different services for unification of data from multiple sources as well. So it helps you in the data collection process. It helps you in the data preparation process. And then for modeling, even if your team doesn't have a very strong data scientist or somebody who's technically very strong, you can use these pre-trained models from Vertex AI to build your solutions. You can also fine-tune it on your custom data set. You might have a custom data set where you can, fine-tune these pre-trained models. And so these are some of the tools which are available from Vertex AI. And so if you want to see the demo of the tools, like I'm just quickly showing you. So translation might be one of the APIs which you might be looking at, especially Indic language support. You might want, both voice and text from vernacular languages across India. So that is one of the use cases. So if you want to translate docs, audio, videos in real time with Google AI, this Translate API is a great product which you can look at. And there's a lot of research which is happening in IIT Madras, and there's a lot of research which is happening in even Google research itself in Bangalore. There's a lot of papers which has come up in translation. There are architectures like RemBert and all these, which is there's Tamil BERT, which is released recently. There is Telugu BERT, Telugu Lalama, Tamil Lalama, and there's a lot of very Indic language language models which are coming out, which might be useful for you if you're looking for inspiration to train your own language models. And you can also have a look at Google translation services, which might help you translate docs, audios, and videos in real time with Google AI. So you can dub a video in different languages. You can just play around with these Google services. To users, you don't require you don't have to have a very strong coding knowledge and all that. It's an auto ML, so you can just get your job done without writing any lines of code. So that's the advantage of using an auto ML engine to do the translation job for you. And you also have other services like Vision. So if you're performing any vision-based task, so again, you have Vision AI, you can just drag any image from your computer. So I'm just trying to. So this is the image of a dev fest which was happening recently. So I'm just putting the image. So I just uploaded a random image. So it is identify who the objects are. So person, 90% probability, and it is identifying chair. So this is a Cloud Vision API. So you can use Cloud Vision API for classification, object detections, And you can also integrate it with various other APIs exposed by AI as well. So a lot of image-based and video-based jobs analytics is made easier with the help of Google Cloud Vision API. And you don't have to be any strong programmer or a very strong Python developer and all that. This is a no code automated AutoML for you. So with just drag and drop, you can get a lot of things done. What I all did here in the demo was just upload a pic, and I got a lot of things done with just uploading a dip. So with just few drags and drops, you can get a lot of things done with using these AutoML tools. Right, you have the same thing available for speech as well. A specific problem statement has got a person should be able to search using speech as well. So you have speech to text API to do that job for me. Is somebody trying to talk?
Yeah, Usha, so you can continue.
Yeah. So you have speech to text API, which is again, an AutoML tool which will take your speech and then convert it into text. And right now you've got Gemini. So this is one thing which I would like to highlight. You have Build with Gemini, which is coming up. So this is a multimodal, it offers multimodal support across text, images, video, audio, and code, a lot of reasoning abilities. It comes with a lot of features. You can build great applications. Right now, you can use Kaggle API to use Gemini for free. But this free option may not be available for a long time. So you don't require any API, nothing. You can just use Gemini API from Kaggle and use it absolutely for free. You can build great applications like, you can build a tax invoicer just with 2 lines of code. You can just, build a tax invoicer which will read all your financial statements and will automatically compute tax and do a lot of operation for you. So you can build a lot of applications with just, you can build even, and you can renovate your entire house, build an AI architect for renovating your house using Google Gemini. You can do a lot of things using Google Gemini API. And right now you can head on to Kaggle where Google Gemini API is present. So you don't require API key, you don't require any subscription hassles and all. You can use it absolutely for free. And you also have under code section, there is a particular notebook which is offered from the Google team itself on how to use this API. So I'll share this with all of you so that, just in case if you have a use case which can be solved using Google Gemini API, I would highly recommend make use of it. And I will also share this sample starter notebook for you to get started with. So there's a lot of, you can build your own, app which gives you suggestions on nutrition. There's lots which can be done using with just 1 or 2 lines of code. You can build amazing things using this Google Gemini API. So I would highly recommend checking that out. So there are other Google Cloud resources like Document AI, and you have price optimization. If you're dealing with tabular data problems, there's a lot of other APIs which will help you do that. So these are some of the solutions which are available in Google. And just in case if you want to learn about any particular service, then I would recommend Cloud Skill Boost. So because if you are So Cloud Skill Boost is where you learn on practice. You don't know about how to use Vertex AI, then you can, I think you will get it free for 7 days or 15 days. You might get it for free. You just have to log in, create an account using your Gmail ID, and you will get free subscription for 15 days, I think so. Just check it out. 15 or 7 days, I'm not sure, but you'll get it. So once you go there, you can just click on explore button, and you want to learn about any specific technology, just click on explore. And then, for example, if I want to learn about how to use Vertex AI, then just go to Cloud Skill Boost, type on Vertex AI. You will find all the Vertex AI related courses there. So if you just get it for free subscription, you can just finish off each of these courses in just 1.5 hours, 2 hours. So this is a quick way. The labs comes with detailed hands-on, so you can click on this hands-on material. It's a self-paced app. You don't require anybody's support. You can just click on the start lab button, and then you can just follow the instructions. They have clear instructions with pictures on how you should get started with the lab. So with this skill boost, you can almost learn any skill in Google Cloud. You want to upskill yourself, then you can go for Vertex AI. So for example, if you want to learn about Bharat, which released earlier this last year, so you can just write Bharat, and you have a lot of labs which related to Bharat. And I'm just checking if Gemini related courses are there. No, I don't think so. But then you can type on any technology which you want to. So AutoML, so Cloud AutoML, you can just click and search for it. You have courses, how to classify images. So you have both courses and you have both labs, and you get a free subscription for 7 or 14 days. So just check that out. And this is how you can use Cloud Skill Boost to upskill yourself, just in case you don't know how to use a specific particular platform. These are self-paced labs, and everything you need to know about the lab is given there. You just have to click on the start lab button, and it will smoothly walk you through the entire lab exercise. So Google's Cloud Skill Boost, and being students, just check out if your particular university has got Google Developer Students Club, and through the club you can just ask for free Cloud Skill Boost credits as well. I think students can follow that route to get free access for Google Cloud Skill Boost thing. And there are specific cloud facilitator programs for students specifically, where you can ask for requests for workshops and all that. So these are my recommendations on how to upskill yourself in Google Cloud if you're planning to use a specific thing and you don't know how to use it. And this is some ways where you can upskill yourself and get up and started. So I've come to the end of the session. So over to Sumarjit.
Thank you, Usha. It was great having you. We'll have the question answers for now. So I will just share my screen. Just give me a second, please. So I request every participant to raise their hands, and they can start asking questions one by one. Yeah, Sarang, you can go ahead.
Yeah, my question was regarding the optimal matrix, the fast matrix retrieval problem statement.
Your voice is breaking. Can you please repeat?
My question is regarding the optimal M cross N matrix problem.
Okay, you can ask.
So I wanted to ask whether the storage, like once this data is received from the merchants, will it be stored only as a matrix, or can we also alternatively store it as graphs or other data structures which are more convenient to retrieve from? Like, I'm just to explore.
Okay, so I would like Usha or Supriyo to take this forward, please.
Okay, let me take this. So that's a great suggestion. So what I said is that the data is in a matrix form, but you don't need to store it as a matrix. You can store it in whatever form is most convenient. All that we need is optimal storage and optimal retrieval. Retrieval is within real time, and it should be able to, and we should be able to store the sparse matrix in the most efficient way. But yeah, definitely explore, the other storage mechanisms that you're talking about, like graphs, or maybe there's some other way to do it as well.
Thank you, sir. Got it.
Thank you, Supriyo. So next, I would like Rizal, you can ask question. Husan, am I audible?
Sorry, to have me.
Yeah, you have raised your hand. Do you have any question?
Sure. So I did.
Yeah.
Have it out. I would like to ask questions about catalogs itself. Catalogs. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My main questions are: does ONDC store or catalog data within itself, or because it being a protocol, or is it just storing the transactional data, or does it have like catalog registry within itself, or does it maintain a repository of it? What is the mechanism behind that? I want to know what is that.
Now, ONDC doesn't store either the catalog or the transactions. If you see, ONDC is just a protocol which enables two parties to transact. Now, having said that, we are actually working on something called a catalog as a service, where we want to provide, we actually want to seed, we actually want to enable some of the participants to create a catalog by taking data feeds from our catalog as a service. Just to give you an example, there are lots of branded products, right? Atta, oil, all that. You have lots of branded products. So how do you make sure that we have the right image, and some of the right details that are required, like manufacturing name, manufacturing address, contact person, contact number, and all that. There are a lot of these things which are required as part of statutory requirements, and participants frequently struggle to get that. But we are actually looking at a catalog as a service to have at least, start out with the branded data, store it, and then provide a feed to participants to access it. But ONDC doesn't have the actual catalogs for any other participants, nor does it store transactions.
Sure, sir. If I can add on, the thing is, you have the problem statement of catalog scoring. So will it be on the fly? Because if there is no data, I can't score on anything. Because if ONDC doesn't store any data, how will I rank catalog from? Is it going to be based on rapid query and rapid storage?
No, again, that's not for ONDC. That's for the ecosystem. So if I am a seller on ONDC, I will send my catalog to a buyer app. Now, before sending my catalog, how do I know what my catalog score is? Whether my catalog quality is good enough to make myself discoverable on the buyer app or not. So this is more for use by the ecosystem, not for ONDC itself.
Sure, sir. One final question. There is something called incremental catalog refresh within your ecosystem. If you could just tell me, in a brief idea about what that incremental catalog refresh entails, it would be really
nice. The incremental. So there is if you look at hyperlocal, what happens is, the way most of these buyer apps show it is to provide like a store-wise catalog display, right? I go to a store, I see all the catalogs in that store for, let's say, grocery. Now there is something called a full catalog pull, which is what the buyer apps do is they request for the full catalog, some basic details of the catalog, they store it. And then the incremental updates is whatever changes, since the full catalog pull. And it's primarily things like inventory, prices, maybe images once in a while, quantity, those kinds of things that change, right? So whatever are the delta changes that happen, on a catalog over a period of time, those are kind of sent in incremental updates, and it is sent in near real time, so that the information is in sync on the buyer app.
And so to be clear again, ONDC again doesn't store those data, just facilitates.
No, ONDC doesn't store. ONDC doesn't store. This is just the way participants communicate. It's just the way participants communicate.
Thank you, sir. That would conclude my questions. I'm really helpful. Thank you.
So moving to the next person. So Shreyas, do you have anything?
Yes. Well, I went to the ONDC website and I saw that ONDC website is currently supporting the Indic language. That means I can change the language to my native language or to any language of my preference. So if we are participating through the Indic language support specifically, what we are actually importing is that we are producing the input which should be in the regional language to be converted to English.
No, so when you said ONDC supports Indic language, it's the ONDC website. And if you see the kind of content that we have on the website, it's primarily information on who the participants are, what are they participating in, and all that. It doesn't have anything to do with the transactions. The Indic language support problem, it's again, it's for the ecosystem itself, to enable the ecosystem. But the problem here is that, there are catalogs which are stored in any particular language. And I might want to query that catalog from a different language. I might want to, have a query in Bengali, for example, for catalog stored in English. It should be able to find out, okay, if I search for Atta, it should be able to, find out Atta and give me a response in Bengali, the language that I searched for. So that is the Indic language problem. It is actually again, for the ecosystem, and it is for real transactions on the ecosystem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So moving to the next person. So creative stuff with Sam. Do you have anything?
Yeah, so my question was like, are we allowed to use the APIs of any third-party GPTs and LLMs, like, or are we allowed to use only the Google products? Like, can we use OpenAI APIs or something like that?
Yeah, see, the final solution has to be deployed in Google Cloud. But for building your individual components, if there is any other alternate option available, you are free to use that. It's only your end product solution has to be deployed in Google Cloud. So for building your individual components, I think you can offer any services or API which is available for you. Any open source APIs is great. You can fine tune it using any open source LLMs. If you use a private LLM, just check on certain LLMs may not allow you to use it for enterprise building your product, but they might allow you only for certain research purposes. Like there's a lot LLMs coming from Stanford and all that. So see that licensing requirement and then use it. And you're free to use any open source alternative for building your individual components. It's only the final product has to be deployed in Google Cloud.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So moving to the next person, Tanisha, do you have any question?
Yeah, sure. I was actually going to ask about the buyer app APIs. So the buyer app APIs that ONDC provides, is there a way to pass different kinds of filters, which a buyer can search based upon that? So how can that be passed? Because just going through these Swagger APIs that ONDC provides, I didn't find any such functionality.
Yes.
See, if you see on ONDC today, the catalog retrieval, it is generally done in a block. In other words, the buyer apps, they pull the catalogs, they kind of store it because catalog data is huge. They need to deduplicate the data. They need to clean up some of that data, then they store it, and then they provide visually appealing interface to the buyer so that they can actually see it. So in other words, not just catalog, but they show, okay, this ATA is available from these 10 merchants, these are the prices. So in other words, they kind of create a kind of an immersive user experience for the buyer. So the filters that are there, those are applicable on the catalogs that are there with the buyer app side. And now there are real-time. Now we have support for all types of catalog retrieval. We have block retrieval, which is what we call a search by city. We also have specific items that someone can pull, and you can even express your intent and you can pull anything that you want to from the seller side. But those have not had much of an uptake. But the filters that you're talking about, I want to search for shirts costing between 1,000 and 2,000 rupees, color blue or something like that. Those are all available on the buyer app site. That they provide you the filters so that you can actually zoom in to whatever you want to.
So is that also provided with the APIs that ONDC provides?
API is primarily for data exchange, and the filters that you want as part of data exchange, that is there. But filters for the user experience, that is on the buyer app side.
Okay. Yeah, that answers my questions.
Yeah. So moving to the next person. So Karan Agarwal, do you have any question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, my question was regarding the optimal storage and retrieval in M-cross and sparse matrix problem. So, sir, my doubt was we were planning to utilize Python for the storage and the efficient retrieval. So what is the interface that we need to deliver which can take the input and output? Is the Python notebooks, those are enough, or what is the interface expected out of it?
See, the solution that you come up with, that should have a clean abstraction so that anyone that wants to use it, they can use it. So just to give an example on the buyer app side, if they get the data, they'll feed it in some form. I don't know in what form it will be, whether it is as a matrix, whether it is as a two-dimensional array, or maybe as a graph. But they should be able to feed in the data in a particular format. And my suggestion would be to support multiple, data feed interfaces. And then you give a response, again, using some standard interface. So we've talked about clean, standard, interfaces and abstractions for this problem.
Okay. So any interface which can take inputs in various formats and be able to retrieve the solution in on the fly. Is that right?
Right. That's right. But
Okay, so
just make
any
sure it is a standard
yeah.
format. Okay, make sure it is a standard format. If it's a standard format, then a lot of people will be able to use it. Standard format which can be easily used.
Is there anything like a functioning web page where they able to enter all of it and they can see the output on the
Functioning
next
web page, I think it will be difficult to input this amount of data. I think it has to be primarily some kind of a data feed interface. I don't know what kind of interface it is. It could be a CSV file. It could be like a multi-dimensional array. Maybe there are much better ways of
something
doing it.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the what you just said, so that is very much achievable by the use of just Python interfaces, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So we can deliver that. Okay, so the last one doubt would be, so the input would be just say a CSV format where all the merchants with their
that is
inputs
one
are
of the formats. That is one of the formats.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I mean, I'm sure there are much better formats that you can use. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I was just saying the input is basically all the data provided, and then you are searching for that merchant which all pin codes are serviceable, isn't it?
That's right. So the response you give either one pin code or a set of pin codes.
Set of
by merchant, of course, because the way you'll search is okay. I'm in 560076. It'll show me a list of all the merchants and the pin codes, with service to me.
All right, that's pretty much clear to me. Thank you so much.
So we will move to the next person, but this will be the last question as we are running out of time. The next person, Aryan. Aryan, what is the question?
Yes, hello. My question was regarding the sparse matrix only. But as much I have understood from the statement is that the database, which has all the sellers and the providers, the codes, is a standalone database on a server, right? And the seller and the buyer app can take data and just retrieve data from that, right?
Yeah, Supreme, could you please answer?
No, sorry, I didn't get your question.
And can you please repeat?
I was asking if the data, like the data that we are talking about here, is it from the seller or is it from someone or it's on a database where from the seller and the
Yeah, Aryan, are you there?
Sorry, so basically I'm asking, so we have this sparse matrix, right? I'm asking, is it provided by the seller or is it a standalone database on a server from where the seller can input the data and the buyer app can retrieve the data?
Now, how does it matter to you? The sparse matrix, all that we said is that there has to be an input interface, there has to be an output interface. So how does it matter whether it's with the seller, whether it's in a database, whether it's in a file somewhere?
Because if the data is on the seller app, then the storage problem is not there now. Then the seller app has all the rights of how he can store the data on it. We only have to work on the retrieval part.
No, actually, if you see the problem statement, it very clearly says that it's for the buyer app side, because buyer apps actually do the serviceability check when they display the catalogs, and they have to do it in near real time.
Okay, so we only have to make an interface which stores the data and retrieves the data, right?
Right.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Sir, I have a couple of questions about the sparse matrix. So just a minute.
The time is like over. We have already.
Just a minute.
Guys, listen. Please, we will
about the sparse matrix, and it is about how will the data be given to us? It is unsorted or sorted by way of organization of
audible to you?
Information about the data and also the test.
Am I audible to you? Guardian, am I audible to you?
Yes.
Yeah, so we will be taking this question in the session. So kindly please be patient. So moving on to the next slide. We have upcoming sessions, as you can see. But for these AMA session, we will be sharing a Google form with you all. So you need to fill your questions over there. So those questions will be addressed in these AMA session. So moving on to the dashboard, as I can see many of you are asking like where you can find the recordings. So just give me a second, I will present my screen. Can you all see the dashboard? Yeah. So in the resource section, you can go and click on that. So you can find all the recording over there. And today's Masterclass 3 will be also uploaded there. And you can go to our website and also check our meetups happening in different cities. Thanks you all for joining. I'll just go back to this. So I will see you all in the next AMS session and the Masterclass. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Usha. Thank you, Supriya.